Yeah. I went too hard on myself. You don't need nobody else. I went too hard on myself, I swear. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we're trying something new. As most of you know, you asked for a YouTube video from us. We came up with the idea just kind of out of the blue, but we decided that instead of doing like a longer vlog and editing all of it, we actually did order a camera, and so we are going to wait to do the actual videos, like daily videos, until we get the camera. And so this is kind of going to be my 16, 17 and pregnant story. So this will kind of be one of those videos that a lot of people do, but I hope it'll start up and do well. This is Miss Briar Faith. She's 7 months old right now, and she's big as heck. So I'm gonna tell you my story, and she's gonna talk throughout the video. So alright, so it all started out as, like, you know, you guys know how it started out. I had actually missed my period, and I had the idea what was going on. It was pretty obvious when you miss your period and you have sore boobs and you're nauseous. So we did find out fairly soon, because my periods at the time were like the same day every month. And so when it was 8 days late, I'm like, gotta get a test. So we actually took it in the Walmart bathroom because we were so worried. I didn't want to wait till I got home, because if my parents saw me, they would be like, oh my god, I'm like, what? Why you have that? So we did take it at Walmart, and it came out positive, and I was crying when I came out, and Donovan was crying, and it was an emotional Walmart trip. But we actually had set up an appointment for Unique Peak, and that's like a place where you can get free ultrasounds, and you actually don't have to tell your parents. So that was kind of a really good situation at the time. We hadn't told our parents, and so we had kind of agreed, Donovan and I, we agreed that we were gonna like go to this appointment and find out, get like a blood test and make sure everything's like positive and make sure I'm actually pregnant. And sure enough, I was. So we were kind of a little iffy on if we should tell our parents right now or like we should wait. And at the time, I've always been really close with my mom, and so it was hard for me to keep the secret. And it was like 3 days after we found out, and we were just talking, and she just asked how everything was going, and I was like jam-packing my stomach, and she just looked at me and she's like, is there something you want to tell me? Like, I think she had known, but she was like not ready to hear it. And I told her, I just like blurted it out, and when she heard it, she was really upset, really not angry, more angry at the fact that I wasn't careful. And so we had actually been really worried about telling my dad. That was the worst part, I think, is telling my dad. We had went out to JCPenney's and got a shirt that says you're gonna be a grandpa, just to kind of make it a little better, hopefully. And it actually didn't make anything better. He threw it on the floor. He was really upset about it. So that's how we basically told them. And for the first while, I didn't talk to my dad much. He was just really silent towards me. He didn't want a lot to do. And, yeah, it was just kind of rough. And so, we did decide to go to, well, we tried to go see a counselor for it, because I didn't want to I didn't want to be like that with my dad. I wanted him to accept it, and we didn't get to a counselor, but we did kind of work it out between us. I bucked up and I talked to him about it, and so that made things a lot better. And so throughout the pregnancy, I had a really bad bless you. I had a really bad pregnancy. From like, I bet you a month to like the end of my pregnancy, I threw up at least once a day. There were a few things that I could eat, like I could eat yogurt, I could eat some types of cereal, and grilled cheese. Grilled cheese was one that I could eat, but everything else, I would throw it up. And I have epilepsy, and so if I didn't take my pills, like my prenatal vitamins and all that, like at the same time every night, I would like throw up, so that was a pain. If I forgot to like take them on time, I would throw up, and I'd be like, well, I didn't take my pills on time. It would just be kind of obvious. And so the pregnancy went really well, and then we actually went back to Unique Peak to find out the gender, and she had given us like a thing you pop in the air outside. It was pink or blue, and it was pink, obviously, and so I was really happy about that. I think Donovan wanted a boy, but he was really, really excited about having a girl, and so we were planning out names. Like, we actually got pretty darn excited after the first couple weeks. We had gone through a lot of names that we liked and like stuck with the names just to see if like we would get used to it and we would like it. We had a couple different names. We had Quinn, we had Olivia, and we had Callie. And then, funny story, we did stick with Briar, obviously. I don't know if you guys watch The Voice. It's a TV show, and there was a gentleman named Pryor with a P, and he was performing, and they said his name, and I was like, Briar? That kind of sounds like a girl name. Well, then the next night, he came on again, and I saw there was Pryor. Not Briar, it was Pryor. And so I was like, but I really, really like that name, and so we thought about it for a while, and we're just like, I really like this name, and we were deciding on middle names, and we did decide that Faith, like, it wasn't like in the family or anything. We just decided that went really well with the name, and so we did keep that name. My pregnancy kind of went the same from there, and I was 8.5 months, yes, when I started having like uncontrollable seizures almost every day, and it lasted about 2 weeks, and we had called my neurologist, and she said that if this keeps on happening, she wants me to get induced. And so one day I was actually getting out of the shower, and I passed out, and I had a seizure. And so that's when I called my OB, and I'm like, I told her what my neurologist had said, and she kind of explained how she was uncomfortable doing it because, I was going to be preterm, and she really didn't want that, but my neurologist did insist that I went in, and so Donovan and I were actually taking a nap at the time when I had my final seizure, and he woke up, and he ran and got my parents upstairs, and that's when we called my neurologist for the last time, and she's like, I'll meet you at the hospital, we'll get you set up, and we'll get you a different OB that wants to deliver you, and all of that. And then so we packed our bags to go to the hospital. We had most of it packed, but I think it was that, like, the moment we were like, oh my god, we're not prepared, like, we're missing something, and we actually were pretty prepared. We did pretty good for the time, like how the situation was. So then we went to the hospital, and my OB and my neurologist actually had gotten in an argument, and they had gotten in an argument over the phone, and so we headed up to the 3rd floor, and that's when I got really nervous. a heart monitor for the baby all over my stomach. I got an IV, and a little fact, when I was born, I didn't have enough oxygen to my heart, so they were worried about that for Briar. So they actually did put a heart monitor on me, just to like make sure. And they put an IV in and all that stuff, and then we were filled in on the information. I had Donovan's mom with me, I had my mom with me, and then obviously Donovan. And so they told us that we went in that night, and not the next day, but the day after that, they were gonna induce me. So the night before, they were gonna have me put a big ball between my legs to kind of get me dilated, because I was not dilated at all. And so I did sleep with that, and that was probably one of the most painful things, because I could feel myself dilating, and it was hard to sleep, and I had to switch it a lot. So the next morning it was kind of plain and boring. It was a lot of sitting around and trying to figure out things. They had to figure out if my seizures had caused any damage to Briar at all. And then we had gotten most of the answers that we wanted. And then that night, the man that delivered my baby had actually came in and explained how everything was gonna go. And so he came in to break my water at about 5 a.m. the next day, and when he came in to break it, that I didn't feel, but it was like all over, it was gushing, and like I said, he came in about 5 a.m., and I want to say at about 8 a.m. I was about 3 centimeters dilated, and by about 9, I was completely dilated. I was having super bad contractions, and so I was like banging on the nurse button to like get a nurse in there, and I was like, this baby's coming, like I'm having contractions, and like this is ready to happen. And so she had me start pushing, and keep in mind I did have an epidural, but this thing was so painful to get out. This thing right here, oh, we're getting fussy, it's like nearly 10 o'clock when we're getting on this, and she's usually in bed by like 8:30. We had a really long nap today, so it's kind of an exception. Anyways, so I did have about an hour and a half labor. She was born at 10:42, and she was a beautiful 7 pounds 10 ounces, a little premature, but she did have fluid in her lungs, so they had told us that if we hadn't done the heart monitor and the IVs, that she probably would have gotten not enough oxygen to her lungs. So we were really grateful that we had taken the extra precaution for that one. And so she actually had to go to the NICU. She wasn't crying after she came out, and that's how they figured it out. I held her for about like 10 seconds, I want to say. Yeah, 10 seconds. And then they had to take her, because they needed to take her and get her get her on oxygen, and she wasn't breathing on her own for about 2 days. And so that was really, really scary, because they were just telling me all these options that could have happened or could happen during the time being. And so I was constantly worried. I was in the hospital because of my epilepsy and just my postpartum. So we waited about 2 days, and that's when she was finally able to like come down in our room. I bet you, like, I did not want to leave my newborn baby in the NICU alone. So I did go down to the NICU for most of the night. I usually slept in there, but there were times when they had to ask me to leave just because of like visiting hours and things they had to do that were private. And so after I had the baby, my dad had come to the hospital. He had rushed from work because I needed my mom to be with me, and I wanted somebody to go with Briar. And so I called my dad. I'm like, hey, I need you to go down to the NICU with Briar, because she's just like, I can't go down there because I needed to get stitched up, and a lot of things just for me, and I couldn't walk or anything. And so my dad and Donovan were actually in the NICU with her for the first couple hours, and about like 2 a.m. that night I was actually able to go down because everything was like better. And so I went to go see her, and like I think one of the hardest parts was seeing her being like not be able to breathe for herself. Like that was just heartbreaking for me, and having all these tubes sticking in her, and that was probably the hardest part because nobody ever wants to see their kid like happen like that. And so we got out of the hospital 4 days after she was born, and when we came home, I was so nervous because she had all these birth problems, and I just didn't know if I was ready to go home or not. Like, I wanted like doctors to be with her and make sure everything's stable. Well, like this is a few weeks down the road. I think Briar was about a month old when I took her into the walk-in clinic, and I explained that she was having fevers. Fevers of like 103, which is like really high for a baby. And so we took her in, and it turns out she had pneumonia and thrush in her mouth. The thrush wasn't the reason, pneumonia was. But they told me that she actually needed to be tested for meningitis, and like I was freaking out. I had to go pack a bag because they were gonna put her in the hospital, so I had Donovan stay with her, and I told my mom, and my mom called all the family down because we were scared to death, and there was just like a bunch of family that came to see Briar, but luckily she was not positive for meningitis. That was like another heartbreaking moment because meningitis is so easily to be considered fatal. Yeah, I was like, I didn't know what to do, how to deal with the situation, because I was a new mom. I know I would have probably done better if this was like my second or third kid. But she did end up in the hospital for about 3 days until they got that stuff figured out. And then she actually was in the hospital at about 2.5 months for fevers, and they didn't figure anything out. Yeah, they didn't figure anything out. I'm not a big fan of Trinity Hospital, so we actually are gonna start going to a hospital in Fargo for her because they didn't get any answers for that, and I think there was more going on. But yeah, so that's kind of my birth story. What was I gonna say? Well, I'll tell you about her birthday plans. Let's just go with that. Right now she is 7 months old, and we wanted to do something special for her first birthday because she's already crawling and she's trying to stand up, and so we feel like she'll be able to like walk. And so what we had as an idea was we kind of wanted to go to Disneyland. I know that's a little bizarre for a 1-year-old, and we figured that it would be kind of pricey for us, and it wouldn't be the most convenient thing being as we aren't 18 yet, so we figured we'd save that for another birthday. So we're just planning on going to a water park in Grand Forks. They have a pretty nice water park there. She can swim and have some fun, and yeah, I mean, yeah, so that is my 16 and pregnant story. So I don't know if you guys go on Instagram and Snapchat, I had posted a couple lives. We're just trying this YouTube video thing out. We had a couple people mention that we should start it, and like I shouldn't say a couple, there was a bunch, like my DMs, I think it had like 64 people say something, and so we do want to try it because I definitely think it'd be kind of fun. So we're gonna try it, and we're gonna see how it goes. If we don't get a whole lot of subscribers, we don't want to make the channel for nothing. It would just be kind of a waste of time. And so we are gonna try it out, and like I said, we ordered a camera, and so if it does work out, we will not only use the camera for videoing, but we just take a lot of pictures in general of like Briar and like things we do, and so that will be used for just more than the videoing. So if this gets a lot of like views, we'll definitely make more videos and just see how it grows from there. But yeah, so let me know if you guys enjoyed this. Donovan will be in the next couple videos. He's just actually busy right now, and so he will be in the videos. This was just a one-time thing, just me doing it, but for the most part, we are gonna just do the life of teen parents, just like what we do and the things we do. Try to make it fun for you guys to watch, so it's not like super boring. So yeah, thank you for watching, and like I said, like and subscribe, but definitely tell me how you guys liked it, things I could do better, things I shouldn't do. I'm obviously new at this, so we'll just see how it goes.